My name is Joe Peroni, and this is the Rise Above Project. I just finished watching the Biggest Loser documentary. And I guess what I have to add to it is, because I'm not going to say anything positive, right? But most people who saw it would say negative things. But what I want to add to it is there are two major issues that doesn't ever seem to be talked about for some reason. And I'm going to bring those up today. So number one, let's just go over what The Biggest Loser is. So The Biggest Loser was a reality show where the premise is that the person who loses the most weight wins. And of course they make a spectacle out of these people by having them with their shirts off and things like this. And then they end up weighing them on these huge scales. So that's the premise of the show. It's whoever loses the most weight. Now, there's where you have your first problem. Because if you're an actual trainer, and I have been since 1985, so that's 40 years now, anybody who's a professional in the fitness industry, they would never talk like that. They would never talk about losing weight. Why? Because losing weight is not a good goal. Losing body fat should be the goal. Now, let's look at your average bodybuilder. Over time, what happens is a bodybuilder, using the term builder, they may gain weight, but they're gaining muscle and losing body fat. So yes, their weight might be higher, but they're losing body fat. And that is the goal. Now, on the show, all they're trying to do is win. So you'll get these people, actually the trainers. Jillian Michaels is one. Bob Harper was the other. Both of them have no idea what they're doing, or if they did know what they're doing, they don't have any values or virtues or ethics because they didn't use any actual, what you would call real fitness techniques to help these people. Now, if losing body fat is the only goal you have, or losing weight is the only goal you have, that's easy. All you got to do is have them don't eat. So they eat a minimal amount of food, they do as much work as possible, 8 hours a day, and their weight will go down. Are they losing fat? Of course they are. Are they losing muscle? Of course they are. So when you get down to it, they're not teaching them anything. So what happens when they're not on the show? Well, exactly what you would think. Every one of them gained all their weight back plus some. Now, why would they gain their weight back plus some? It's because the amount of muscle you have on your body increases your basal metabolic rate, the amount of calories that the body needs in order just to exist, even without doing any work. So if you have more muscle, you need more calories to exist. Just like if you built an extension to your house, meaning, let's say more muscle, more space, what would happen is that your heating bill would go up, right? Because you need more energy to heat that house. And so it's the same thing with the body. So if you are shrinking the amount of muscle they have because you're not eating correctly and you're not actually training to maintain any muscle, you are setting somebody up to lose weight but not actually be healthy. Now, if you want to take this to an absurd degree, which they actually kind of already did, if you want to see a bunch of people lose a lot of weight, go to a hospital. There's plenty of diseases where people lose weight. Like there's plenty of cancer patients that sit around, they don't eat, and their bodies waste away. And in this sense, you could win on The Biggest Loser. So this is why I think it's outrageous, because the show was out, 15, 20 years ago? So you had all of that time that it was on the air. It made over $1 billion. And then there's been a lot of people saying negative things about this show, as they should, but they don't bring up the major problem with it, is that it's not about losing weight. If you want to be healthy, it's about losing body fat. Now, here's the second problem. When you look at the contestants on The Biggest Loser, what you're going to see is people who are obese, but on the extreme side of the obese scale. So we're looking at people that need to lose about 100 pounds. And this is interesting because they never bring this up. The biggest correlation to people being about 100 pounds overweight is sexual abuse, sexual trauma, and obviously unresolved these issues are. So this is so much so that if you're a trainer and you see somebody that's close to 100 pounds overweight, more than 50% of the time they've had sexual abuse and unresolved trauma. So as a trainer, you should know this. So there are other things here and other pitfalls to watch out for. Even if they come in and they do everything perfectly, they diet, they exercise, they do everything perfectly and they start to lose weight, and then they start to look better. One of the things you have to deal with is the fact of they're going to be re-traumatized because they're going to get more attention. They're going to get positive attention on their body. You could say that they're being objectified. So this re-traumatizes them. Now, this is never mentioned on the show, but you could say with great accuracy that over 50% of those people on that show were sexually abused, and obviously those traumas were unresolved. They show up in people trying, in a sense, to be as unappealing as possible. They want to use being overweight as a shield from maybe sexual attention. This is never brought up. On the show, they never thought, not once, at least to my knowledge, to have any type of mental health treatment for any of these people. They never dealt with maybe increasing their self-esteem, dealing with trauma issues, dealing with addiction issues, behavior modification. They have done none of that. What they should have been doing is teaching a lifestyle, a healthy lifestyle. Listen, I don't care who you are. If you're a professional athlete and you're training 8 hours a day, maybe that's possible. But they're taking people off the street that were 100 pounds overweight and making them do all of this repetition after repetition and just work, and not letting their bodies recover at all. I haven't seen any studies on this because I don't think anybody wanted to, but I would love to see the amount of knee and hip replacements that have been caused by this show. Because there's no way you can take a person that is not athletic at all, has never been athletic, and you're going to expect them when they're over 100 pounds overweight, people that are weighing over 300 pounds, and you're going to make them do lunges, and you're going to make them do step-ups, and you're going to make them do all of these crazy things. It's so damaging. I mean, I don't even know the number. They don't either, because I don't think that they've actually wanted to know. But what they do know is that they've all gained their weight back plus some. So that pretty much tells you everything you need to know about that. So what am I saying here? I don't even know where the cover-up is. I don't understand why nobody, after all these years, didn't call these people out on this. Again, let me say it real quick to sum this up. Number one, it's not about losing weight. It's about losing body fat. Now, again, if you're trying to make this show exciting, right, and you do want to make a spectacle out of people, first of all, I'm not for that. But if you did want to do it, instead of just putting people on a scale, right, and weighing them like a sack of potatoes or something, if you were trying to do it the right way, to have people losing body fat, meaning that they could actually train correctly, right? They could lift some weight, so to gain muscle or to be able to maintain the muscle that they had, you could give them you could do underwater weighing, right? That would be enough of a spectacle maybe, okay? And you could do that. That would make up for having basically half-naked people on a scale and making fun of them. So do the underwater weighing. So that's number one. Number two, there has been no mental health treatment for any of these people. And so you're expecting people to be training 8 hours a day, and then they're going to go home and do what? So you're not teaching them a lifestyle whatsoever. You're teaching people how to starve themselves to death and do as much activity as possible. That's not sustainable. You can't do that the rest of your life. So you're not doing anything for health and fitness. It's actually the exact opposite. So in this way, you would say that their way of losing weight is about as healthy as drag racing. It has nothing to do with health and fitness. Anyway, my name is Joseph Peroni. This is the Rise Above Project. Please subscribe and tell a friend. Thank you.